Good evening and welcome to the Quantum Health evening webinar, here to support your use of the Nest Provision systems. And today we're going to be looking at the use of the Feel Good range of Infoceuticals. And we're just waiting for a moment, and we're expecting Harry Massey to join us this evening, and we're going to share his experience and look through the new range of Feel Good Infoceuticals. So here we go. This is the start of the Feel Good Infoceuticals webinar, and we're looking at the range from the practitioner view and how you can integrate this into the use in your clinic. So working through here, we've got the Feel Good range, and down the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see a new range of home, or as we've now referred to them, Feel Good Infoceuticals. We've got Polarity at the top of the list, and all of these are considered infoceuticals that we can provide in a symptom-based treatment. What we're really meaning by that is that we're not locked into the scan specifically to provide these infoceuticals. So as a result, we can actually provide them based on symptom, how the client feels, and maybe even have them in the home of the client, not necessarily in use at that time. We can have them standing by like a home kit, almost like an informational first aid kit in the home. So that's a new stance for the use of infoceuticals. Previously, we were looking at it, looking for information from the scan, and now we're actually looking to look for a symptom with this specific range of infoceuticals. Now, I'm just going to pause for a moment and just have a look to see if Harry's there to join us. Just looking down the invitees list now to see if Harry's come in. Let me just see. Harry, are you there? Hello, Harry. Are you there?
I am, Cyril. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. We'd only just started talking, and I've just highlighted to the attendees that the Feel Good range of infoceuticals are really here to allow us to provide infoceuticals that the client can have and not necessarily on the spot have a scan. They can have them in the kitchen, in the home, in the bathroom, and go, that's what I need today, and go, I'm going to take it and I'm going to see improvements, like a home first aid kit for information. Is that your impression? Is that how you feel we should be looking at them?
Yeah, I mean, basically about six or 7 years ago, when we were working out all of the infoceuticals, so a lot of the infoceuticals are used for healing and detoxification occurs, and really the body needs them in a particular sequence. However, some in daily life, however, some of the infoceuticals really can be used to make people feel better, but also that they have a much more real time application. So there's never a moment when you don't want to feel good, like taking something like love, or if something stresses you out in the moment, then using the ESR is good. Or you might have suddenly, a client might have suddenly caught a cold, and so they would use CFI. So really, there's a distinction between the infoceuticals that really require and are best used in a sequence of healing, and what we would call feel good infoceuticals that are used in that moment in time, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I suppose it's bringing informational medicine into day-to-day use, isn't it? So people don't have to be locked into a crisis and really chasing a recovery stage. They can use it outside a normal treatment protocol and actually still get profound changes.
Yeah, it's exactly that. I mean, it can go it goes they go hand in hand with the normal infoceuticals that you might have recommended for that month. And it doesn't affect the normal protocols would be the right way of saying it.
Excellent. Well, I've just started with the slides here to show maybe a little brief on each one. So how about we work our way through and actually we can have a chat about what we've seen and what sort of experiences the turfers have had. The first one I've started with was the Source driver, which is Source in the Feel Good range, and it really is the master energy driver being provided right up front. So we know this is a catalyst for not only chemical and energetic activities, but a whole change in the cavities of the body, the way we carry information, the way we hold it. This allows us to direct energy to the other drivers and the more detailed systems. It's a great one for picking up energy levels, particularly in chronic
Yeah.
illness and things of this nature. And I imagine it was probably a catalyst for some of the recoveries that you yourself saw coming from chronic fatigue.
Sure. Well, actually, one of the reasons we made the source, and the source, to be clear, is not the same as source driver. And how we made the source is we combined source driver with ES4, which is the triple cavity energizer. And the reason we combined them is it was back 5 or 6 years ago. I was doing a lot of rock climbing at the time, and basically I wanted something to create a lot of energy for sports. And yeah, I mean both myself and another fellow rock climber called Chris were trying it in Spain, and yeah, I mean Chris managed to he'd been trying this project I think for about five years of what's called 8A, and in climbing levels only go up to 9, so it's sort of great, it's right up there. And yeah, I mean, and on the source driver, he finally managed to sort of trip over into the 8A category. And one of the other initial things that we did with both the source, well, we actually created two together. It's the source and rejuve, because the source we wanted to take before and during sports, and then rejuvenation after sports, so that we could recover quicker over the next evening and day before the next day's activity. And I think one of the most amazing stories, and I'll try to remember her name, but it's a UK practitioner who's a marathon runner, and she would do a marathon maybe once a month, or not so often. And on the source and rejuvenation, she did something incredible. I mean, she did 10 marathons in 10 days in a row, and I remember her name was Sue. I can't remember her surname, but yeah, I mean that's why we made those two.
Fantastic. Well, that shows that it can support what fantastic skills people have, and obviously in that situation, relentless recovery every single day. So to be able to do that, this must have been a fantastic boost to it. Let's have a little look at the next one here. Here we go. So next one down the list we put in, which is ESR, emotional stress relief, and this is used in conjunction with a lot of NES therapy as a big support. We realise that as we open up energy, we feel emotions, we feel changes, and sometimes that's the catalyst for a complete change of the body, and the emotions have to be supported. Sometimes we feel changes is stressful, or maybe even feeling like it's out of our control. Remembering this is not a chemical sedative. It's not even a stimulant. It is purely supporting the body's systems, and innately this is supporting the digestive tract as a major component. It's very popular. It's almost like a rescue remedy for people. When they feel they
Yeah.
need it, they can run in and make use of it there and then.
I mean, I could probably say a bit more about ESR. How ESR was made is originally we were looking at the energetic integrator system, which starts at EI1 and goes up to EI12. And when you're looking at the EI1 to EI12 range, that basically covers the majority energy systems within the body field. And sometimes if you take if you take an infoceutical, you might get some strong reactions. And originally we were getting actually very strong reactions from the integrators, because we had them as actually correcting the whole energy channel in a particular region. And later on, and this is back 7-8 years ago, we basically smoothed out each integrator by tagging it to different organs in the body, which basically meant we smoothed away the reactions. But back to ESR. So what we wanted to do is create something that would basically relieve the stress of the overall body field. So its actual effect is to even out the whole body wave. So how we made that is we used EI1 and EI7 and EI12, which basically takes the beginning of the body wave, the midpoint, and the end point. And so basically by taking it, if someone's getting a lot of reactions, it will help smooth that out if it's a bit too much. So it's just a great emergency remedy for whatever's happening in their life, whether it's a health thing that's going on, or of course in its name, the emotional stress relief. It also has an incredibly smoothing effect on the emotions. So that's where ESR comes from and how it actually works.
Excellent. And when people recognise stress, often they start it with a sense of having a gut reaction, don't they? They have a gut feeling. The stress starts, and of course that's exactly where ESR is starting to support. Here we go with the next. This is peace. Now, how would you? Because this is obviously going to be a strong part of the education, the choice point in the version 3. Peace and things of this nature. So how did you come with peace?
How did we come with in with peace? Well, Peter was actually very, very, very into all of the feel good types ideas. So whether it's chill, peace, love, ESR, liberator. Like Peter obviously had a very active, very hyperactive brain, and was always liking to calm it down. So yeah, I mean, Peter was behind that. If you ask me to remember how we made that, I believe what we did is we took the idea. Well, we took the idea of ESR of using EI1, 7, and 12, and then we basically combined. We combined that with the heart imprinter. So basically, we were connecting the heart straight into smoothing out the overall body wave. If you have a coherent heart, you're basically more peaceful. So I mean that's how we made that one.
Now, sleep's a very good one. In fact, I've noticed some changes, and I've had some interesting experiences with this one, and some of them are quite amusing. I remember visiting a Dutch practitioner, and there was a dog, an enormous dog, and sleep was provided to that dog because it snored enormously, so much so you could hear it not just in that house but in the whole area. And remarkably, it actually changed the snoring of the dog, reduced it significantly. So we've had that reported by many couples. So the sleep cycle changes and becomes a more suitable one. But also, I found that by providing sleep not just in the evening but sequentially through the day, you're resetting the cycles that promote sleep. So the body actually finds its natural rhythm by providing sleep as an infoceutical several times during the day, and then closer together in the last few hours before going to bed. And that technique sometimes seems to bring that cycle back together if you do it over a couple of days. So that's something we've noticed in practice.
Yeah, I mean, the sleep one was, I mean, that was designed by calming down the parasympathetic system, just to help people get into that state before they sleep.
Mm. out. We've got EMF. Now, this is one I've used on numerous occasions myself, particularly if I spend too much time on my laptop. My fingers and hands tend to go pink, and they ache. You get almost a static feeling where you're rubbing your hands and they feel uncomfortable. And it seems to be, for me at least, a reaction where I'm sensing the EMF if I'm using Wi-Fi in particular. And this is one where I've applied it topically, literally put it in my hands, a couple of drops, rubbed it round, and watched my hands change colour. Another useful place is the back of the neck, but obviously the traditional usage in water is obviously a good process as well. What's your experience of EMF?
The EMF. We made basically because of. Obviously all offices and hotels and aeroplanes well, we just live in a wildly EMF world, and I for one used to be immensely sensitive to it, and actually luckily I'm a lot less sensitive to it now, and I must have taken the EMF remedy for. It must have been a good year or so, and yeah, now mobile phones don't bother me, but in the past I used to have to hold it about a meter apart, and it would always give me a headache, even from a meter away.
So it supported the body field to be more robust in those environments.
Well, yeah, maybe I should explain it better. So obviously your body field is constructive. Is constructive of different types of energy, down from EI1, which is sound, up to light, which is in EI12. There is also a band of frequencies within the EMF range that also interfere with all the information and energy exchange that is going on in your body field. Now, if you've got a healthy body field, all of your driver organs can actually helpfully deflect those distortions, because it's generating a strong enough. It's generating enough energy within those frequency bands that the EMF is affecting. So what we were doing when we were creating the EMF is we were looking at the frequency bands that EMF was affecting within the body field, and then basically making a correction to this to various drivers. And the heart was one of them, the nervous system was another, which was the other one, cell driver was another of them, and basically by making corrections to where there were distortions in the body field from various sets of EMF, your body is far better able to deflect EMF, and EMF becomes less of a problem, if not no problem at all.
Excellent, thank you. Let's have a look here. Now the fat met and fat metabolism. I've seen a lot of people using this, and this is about trying to support the nervous system. It's about trying to normalize hormonal activity. It's not going to suppress appetite. It's about getting natural functions working properly, and working as a support mechanism for the normal function of the liver. That's where it is. So people are not going to start feeling like they're taking dieting pills or anything of this nature. It's not that type of thing, but it is there to support the body to balance out all those energies that are involved in the storage and the incorrect use of fats. So it's trying to facilitate the use of the good fat usage.
I can tell you how that was made. It's a bit of a funny story, actually. Again, I think this is about nine or so years ago. Peter and me went off to Malaysia, where there was a company called Causeway, who owned the Times Square building in the capital of Malaysia, and they basically, all they were interested in is having something that would reduce people's make people thinner. They were just obviously on the weight loss trip, and and there's someone called Big Al who's the CEO of this huge company in Malaysia. And Big Al was actually only 4.5 foot tall. I mean, he's an absolutely tiny guy. And basically, he gave a lot to his wife. And unfortunately, we made his wife really fat, and this was really not a good idea. And because what Peter had done at the time is he basically optimized a fat cell. So in other words, he basically created a driver for a fat cell, so it made the fat cell work better, so people got fatter, which is of course the absolute opposite of the effect that we wanted to do. So obviously that was thrown in the bin, and we started again, and instead Peter basically looked at the fat metabolism pathways that are in the liver, and he optimized that. And by doing that, but basically by metabolizing fat faster and more efficiently in the liver, people didn't end up storing so much fat from the fat that they were consuming in their food, and then people got thinner, and we ended up with the right result. So I don't know. There's a bit of a story.
Well,
there's lots of these funny stories of how everything was created.
It's nice to know the sources
one day.
and where they really go on. This is wonderful. Thank you for sharing with us there. Here we go, Rejuve. Now, Rejuve, we've seen in the clinics, we've seen it particularly with sports as they've got here, but any form of impact or injury that might carry a shock as well. And this is often applied topically as well. You can actually directly apply it to an area. If you've got something that you feel you've pulled or strained, it's a good one that you can put a few drops in your hand and rub into that area, and you're directing the activity most effectively this way. Are you able to talk to us about the relationship between these named infoceuticals, like, for example, Rejuve, and things that we find in the My Healths? Because I'm certain clients will be asking about things like after sports. What type of relationship is there between these and those informations within the energies?
I mean, in the case of rejuvenation, it's the same information that's in the My Health and in the infoceutical. After sports, I believe that the Dutch actually just renamed rejuvenation after sports, and there's a couple of odd duplications like that which we've actually removed as part of the Provision Free and the My Health release that goes with Provision Free. Everything is now sort of all the My Health menus are aligned with the Provision menus, and there's none of these odd things like where you had 2 or 3 types of rejuvenation. It's sort of all clear what they all are. And for those that are listening that might be asking about that, I think the well-being folder, the well-being folder is going to be included in that release, so no one's losing that folder.
Excellent. Here we go, cold and flu immunity. Now, this one has an interesting effect. Certainly, if somebody feels like they're getting bunged up, they're feeling rough, they've got this flu-y thing coming on, they're thinking, gee, this is going to mess with my meetings tomorrow. It certainly will support your recovery, but there is a natural cycle to the process, and you will be accelerated in and out of the cold and flu syndrome much faster and smoother. It won't hide the symptoms, it won't remove it. It allows the body to do its proper drainage and escalate the event rapidly through the body and over, fully cleansing and processing. That's a good way maybe of describing it from what I've seen with the usage.
Yeah, I mean this the CFI is basically ET6, and how all of the ETs are made, and ETs sometimes are a difficult. Sometimes people think they're a difficult concept to understand, but it's not such a hard concept. I mean, if you imagine you've got a cell, a virus goes into a cell, starts replicating other viruses, and the virus spreads from cell to cell, and you end up with flu or whatever viral issue it is. What CFI or any of the ETs are doing is they're basically sending back in a new message into the cell that corrects the damage that the message of the original virus did. Because I mean, all of our, if you like, all the virus is doing is going in and detuning your cell and getting it to do something else, and you end up feeling like half dead, which is not what any of us want. So instead, what we're doing is we're basically sending in the information to correct the damage, if you like, that's just been done in the cell, so that the cell ends up working how it used to be, or as though it didn't have that particular virus, and the virus gets destroyed, and off you go. And the ETs are really interesting. Obviously, if you have a cold and you take an ET, it should resolve pretty fast, like within one to two, maximum three days. Uh, and if you don't have a cold, let let's say a particular client has what me and Peter would call ET soup, and showing like ET3, 5, 7, 9, or a whole load of ETs that like it looks like their terrain or their body is just full of viruses, and hence we call it ET soup. Um, the way that you can tell if an ET is working, I mean, it corrects a lot of stuff very quickly, and generally, if you give an ET and they get this sort of flu-like reaction, but it only lasts for 3 days, that's brilliant, and it gets corrected. Versus if you got a flu, and the flu normally lasts 7 to 10 days, and you're out for ages. Like that's if you got flu. But if you give someone an ET and they get this reaction for 2-3 days, and they might ring up and say, "Oh, I'm feeling dreadful," don't worry. That's the ET doing its job, and it does clear after 3 days. And if they're really worried, you can give them a load of ESR, and it'll smooth out that distortion. But generally, I'd recommend just seeing your way through that, because I mean, ultimately you want to correct the detuning that virus has done. And obviously I'm going way beyond CFI, but that's okay.
Thank you. Now here's one we're all familiar with. So really we're just reminding people that polarity is part of the feel good range now. It's one that we don't need to just apply through a prescription. It's actually one that on any occasion you can have an excellent result. In fact, the first time I came to see you, Rose Heyman and I came to visit the UK, and when we arrived, we were given a bottle of Polarity. And not knowing too much about it, we followed the instructions we were given, and I think we took half a bottle each, and felt fantastic, having flown about 36 hours. We had literally sensed the change in polarity lift off us, and the two of us were able to enjoy arriving in the UK in a just a completely relief state. So the energy drag of all those hours on an aeroplane, all that positive polarity, were just stripped off us by taking a significant amount there and then on the spot.
Yeah.
It was so distinct.
Yeah, and I mean, Clarity is a nice one, and the reason it's a nice one is because it's made a free really quite fundamental, well, I guess quite fundamentally good things for you. So it's made a source driver, EMF, and cell driver mixed together, and hence obviously it's very suitable for air travel, because it's helping to correct the EMF. Sorry, I made a mistake there. It's actually consisting of source driver, BFA. Yeah, sorry, it's source driver, BFA, and EMF. And basically by doing that, it helps to re-energize your body field, correct corrects all the big field distortions from a lot of travel, for instance, and it also corrects, you know, various things going on, from electromagnetic pollution. So it's just a great corrector if people are feeling yucky from travel or being in offices or hotels, or, you know,
Mm.
or whatever it is. It's just a great one.
I remember one of the distinct components of the change it provides is you go from maybe even what might be described as a depressive state where you just feel flat to actually feeling uplifted. You actually felt change. A feel good was really what we did get out of it. A fantastic sense. So, yeah, very much a favourite there, and ideal to have as a home first aid kit.
Cool.
Now, here's
Yeah.
one. This is the introduction of the nerve driver into the feel good range. Now, it's designed to balance out the energies and calm the whole nervous system. It's allowing the body to provide a detoxification process more effectively. Um, Now, this is one that Peter has a wonderful video on within the provision. So I recommend the practitioners to have a good look there at Peter's video. If you click onto it within the drivers. What's your memories or experience of the nerve driver?
I mean that one is quite a simple one. It was actually I think it was the second, I believe it was the second driver, or was it the first driver ever made? Ooh, ooh. You know, I think it might have been the first driver. I think we created the nerve driver first, and then the heart driver, and then the lung driver, and then, you know, the other 12 or so came over the next 2 or 3 years after that. But yeah, it's a pretty simple principle. I mean, I mean, Peter basically measured. He basically looked at the alpha and delta waves that were produced by the nervous system, and we basically just created the information. We basically created the information so that the body, so that the nervous system would generate nice smooth alpha and delta waves, and, you know, and that was it. But by doing that, of course, you know, it helps make people calm and promote sleep and all the rest of it. And I think, yeah, one of the reasons he made it is, I'll give a bit of NES history, because it's a bit of entertainment. So I mean, when Peter and I first met, we met in LA actually, and he flew out from Australia, and I flew out from UK, and we spent a few days sort of talking about this mad idea of creating NES. And I was just completely sick as a dog. And he made two things. The two things he made, um, one he made, it was ET7 was the first thing he made, and I got what we described earlier, this 2 3 day flu type thing. So I knew Peter was, you know, telling the truth or doing something, so something was happening to my body. And then the other thing, he just thought I was so wired and unbelievably stressed. He made nerve drivers. So those were the first two pharmaceuticals ever made. And you know, that, and then he went off to Australia. I went off to England, and we did everything through email and phone calls, and he eventually moved to England as well, and blah blah blah. Different subject. I'll shut up.
Yeah, look, I know Peter was particularly pleased with the nerve driver, and rightfully so. As he said, it's the first deliberate treatment that he was able to recognise in any modality that actually enhance the performance of the nervous system, and that really is quite a landmark event, and he was rightfully very proud of that achievement.
Well, it's a landmark event, 'cause actually it's the original. You know, it's the first. It's the first driver, and I think, you know, yeah. And I was like, well, let's make drivers, and off we went. So off we went.
Now here we go. This is the heart driver, which has now joined the feel good range. And well, we're talking about Peter there, and Peter on his videos discusses as a Hollywood starlet. Were you there for that event? What's the story with the Hollywood starlet?
The Hollywood, that must be the Living Matrix Hollywood premiere. That must have been the Hollywood premiere. I assume. I haven't watched that little video in ages, but
What he said was that when he provided heart driver to this particular person, not only did their emotions change, but he saw a complete
oh,
change in their complexion.
he was
Um,
talking about Hollywood star. He might have
yes.
been talking about it's the guy who used to play the president in the West Wing, and his son. I can't remember the name. Anyway, that was the guy, I think.
Well, I
Um,
certainly know if you watch someone whose heart changes. I remember if you look. I remember when my wife was pregnant, the change in the heart field very distinct, and you can see it in the complexion entirely. So it's something that reflects a change in the entire body. So it's not just the heart and the physical muscles and the pumping, but it actually changes the way and supports the way the body provides information through the heart, through sound waves, through the acoustics, through the electromagnetic impulse of the heart. So the whole heart becomes a flourishing information device. Now, from an emotional point of view, we see changes in identity, people's self confidence, their mental integration, their self esteem. They suddenly feel much more empowered. So they become more committed to things. So the heart, as an infoceutical, is now encouraged as a feel good where we can provide it and people can have that at home as a support to them. Now, the heart
absolutely. I mean,
imprinter. Here we go. We've got the heart imprinter, Harry. Now, this one, a slightly different take on it. How would you like to discuss the imprinter?
sure. Well, I mean, there's basically there's a fundamental difference in how they were made, and the heart driver was the third infoceutical, second infoceutical ever made, and uh, what Peter did then is he basically looked at a coherent heartbeat, i.e. that love dub sound that the heart makes, he basically made the he basically imprinted the information so the heart would beat regularly in that not regularly in that coherent state, because a coherent state, strangely enough, is not a regular heartbeat. What the heart imprinter was something slightly different. We looked at the four chambers of the heart, and what's nice what's lovely in human biology is everything has a particular ratio to everything else, and i.e. if you're looking at your hand is about a third of the length of your overall arm, and it sort of goes on like that. The same is true within the heart. There's a nice proportion between each of the four chambers, and when those proportions if those proportions get distorted, um, how information is imprinted into the rest of your body, and also the heart is imprinting information like direct. How the heart is imprinting information is basically through sound traveling very very fast through a liquid, because if you imagine you have liquid under pressure, like if you're under a swimming pool and you make a loud noise under a swimming pool, but imagine that the swimming pool's under pressure as well. Sound can travel actually very, very, very fast through the body, and that is really what the heart is. It basically creates a pressure wave, and it creates that pressure wave because of the relationships between the four chambers of the heart. So it's the heart imprinter was basically made so that the heart could imprint information more accurately to the rest of your body field. And I guess you probably ask where the information is coming from. There's a link between there's a link through the nervous system directly to the brain and through the heart. And so information that is being processed. It's quite interesting. The information is often it is processed in the brain, but it's actually imprinted through the heart, and at the same time, see the heart regulates the rest of the information, and also what you're thinking. And there's very, very direct relationship between what the heart is doing and the brain. And obviously, everyone's heard of the expression, if heart and head are not the same, it's not great. So the heart imprinter helps basically align what's going on in your brain with the rest of the body through this peculiar mechanism of correcting the ratios of the four chambers of the heart.
Okay, so let's just clarify. We've got Heart Driver providing a much more let's say abundant field for the information, and then the Heart Imprinter is providing more clarity of information, more transfer throughout the body. Is that how you would look at it?
I mean, I think I'd look at it in a slight, yeah. I guess the easiest explanation is if you want to think more clearly and have more coherence with your thinking, heart imprinter is the way to go. Um, if you're talking about your sort of your overall charisma, I guess your overall charisma and like the overall regulation of your heart and the overall emotions to the heart, then heart driver is the way to go. And also there's this added massive benefit of heart driver to the skin, and it's a strange connection that we didn't expect. But Peter for a few months took an awful lot of heart driver, and then he started noticing well, actually he had all these like little skin tags and moles and stuff on his skin, and it all started clearing up, and and basically his skin got way better, and then he started to test it, did some more research. He noticed all these links between heart driver, between heart driver and your skin. So heart driver also has well, it has a wonderful beauty effect, and who doesn't want to be more beautiful? So it might be simpler for us to rename the heart driver the skin driver in a way.
Well, that would interfere with the epithelial drivers then.
Yeah,
Let's see where this takes us. Okay, male and female fields. Now, gee, we can wax lyrically about these, but really they provide significant changes in charisma, which in turn changes our emotional states, our active endocrine systems. We see ourselves feel much more empowered, socially warm, and we actually, because of that change, become more attractive to others. People are more willing to spend time with us. They want to speak with us, and suddenly that circle of energy increases, and we become more attractive, more happy. It becomes an energy. You want to have a party. The male and female fields really can draw someone out of the doldrums and make them feel much more empowered.
cool. Yeah, yeah, the male and female energy. I don't know. I don't know if this is the place to tell these stories. So I'm going to give a
When
modified
in
version.
doubt, don't.
When in doubt, don't. You can ask me privately if anyone wants to
Well,
know.
let's say if somebody would like to come to the conference, I'm sure, or one of
They
the
can meet me
retreats
and ask me.
globally,
How about that?
Harry will share with you.
But
Yes.
I'll tell you a little bit. But yeah, I mean, again, it was quite a few years ago. But Peter was quite into being he was he well, if you have a large amount of creativity, you have a large sexual imagination too. And basically, originally the male and female driver were basically there to, well, they're basically there to make you horny and have a better sex life, for lack of putting it politely. And how they were created is we basically looked at certain parts of the genitalia, and we put it, yeah, and we basically imprinted information to optimize certain parts of those functions. I think the detail of that, I think maybe it's a little bit rude, so if you ask me privately, I'll tell you. And well, it probably isn't that rude, really. And over the years, we basically broadened those out to, I think, to the ideas that Cyril's just said, about actually about making people more charismatic overall. So we also added to those quite basic formulas. We also added again heart driver and also muscle driver. But by adding those, it helped both raise raise female hormones and male hormones, but also by increasing the strength of the heart. You're basically making people more sexually charismatic, and you just feel good. So they broadened over the years, but they started from I guess from a more base level, should we put it like that?
Fantastic. Right. Well, thank you for sharing this, and I'm sure people will make a note and discuss it at whichever of the retreats or experiences they come across you at.
Mm. I mean, we've got a few questions that are sort of coming up in real time, but maybe we should rack out a few. Um,
Let's have
I
a
mean,
look.
it's going back. I mean, there's one from Kathleen that says, does sleep help with sleep apnea? It's not targeted to sleep apnea, except sleep apnea is obviously generally because of yeah, I think it's just generally because of not being able to breathe air at night, and it wasn't made to correct that. My tip with that would actually be to use the My Health in along the lines of the sciences before they go to bed to help unblock that. But yeah, I mean that it wasn't made for sleep apnea specifically. It would of course help them be calmer and sleep better through the night, but actually the blocked airways is a different type of problem. Uh, what's the next question?
Um,
How a client can take multiple infoceuticals from this Feel Good kit? Is there a specific order? No, there isn't a specific order because basically all of the infoceuticals that need to be done in sequence are all of the other infoceuticals where you follow the provision based protocol. The reason these ones are all called feel good infoceuticals is because they only make you feel good, so they can be taken in conjunction with the normal protocol, so they don't affect the sequence doesn't affect anything. And we didn't include any that would affect it. If that like, i.e., we haven't included liver driver, kidney driver, cell driver, etc. So all of those are definitely better taken in the correct sequence. But um, having more ESR, it just helps you relax. So no problem with that. Next question: has Provision 3 come out? No, it hasn't come out, but it is. Do you know? I'm going to ask Cyril the correct date. I hate giving dates, but I believe the date is Monday. But Cyril, correctly, it is meant to be coming out next week.
well, there's a few things that we need to still look at. So let's say it's imminent. But there's a few things
Yeah,
we need to double check. But look, it's imminent. It's better for everybody for us to have a good solid testing before we release it completely there. Should we work through the last couple of infoceuticals, and then we can give people a
sure.
time
Sorry.
to
Yeah. Yeah, and if
put
anyone's got any
information on?
questions, put the questions up now while we're going through the last few, and then we'll have them banked up. So.
Yeah. The next one here, we've got the muscle driver. So the muscle driver has been introduced to the range, again, because it has excellent properties taken whenever, not just when it's taken in a methodical process through the provision. So people see changes in the storage of metabolic waste. It's able to start clearing through muscles. They're able to get more mobility, flexibility, and in a metaphysical process, they actually become more independent, they become more active physically, they become more animated. So there's a number of benefits. Were there any other motives that you brought Muscle Driver in for?
I mean, I believe muscles cover more of the body than any other organ, and but again, it's not one that needs to be done in sequence. So if you're into fitness and you want to be a bit stronger, it's just a great one to take.
Just had a question that's worth bringing up at this point, actually, particularly looking at the metabolic processes of the muscle driver. We've just been asked about the dosages for the home or feel good infoceuticals. So all of them have been chosen so that they don't cause reactions or changes that can be, uncomfortable. This one can be supported very much more by providing good
I
drinking
would,
water.
yeah, strangely enough, yeah, the muscle driver, to be honest, is probably one of the only ones on
Mm,
this list where you, yeah, you could actually get a, well, in fact, I did the first time I ever took muscle driver. I did get quite sore muscles for a couple of days as everything started being released out of the muscles.
as a
But mo
recommended
but
as
the
a
rest
recommended
but the rest
dosage.
of them, I would say nine to 15 drops.
And that's probably what most of the range would suggest. The very emotional based ones, possibly 28 as an immediate let's arrest the
Yeah,
condition.
and things like love and ESR and peace, that there's really no problem. You can just well, I mean, to be honest, me and Peter would do 28 drops 3 times a day, or dare I say it, we actually used to suck them out of the bottle. So who knows? But there's that, there's no problem with those feel good types of.
Hmm. Yes, and as I mentioned earlier, the polarity. When Rose Hayman and I landed in the UK after 30 odd hours on an airplane, we had half a bottle each on the spot, and we felt fantastic, fantastic. So it's not something to be fearful of, and the entire range of feel-good infoceuticals have been chosen for the fact that you can use them in that manner without any concerns. Oh, there
Cool.
we go. Chill. Now, this is designed to deal with emotional loops and information emotions where people are getting overloaded. It's getting trapped. It's starting to become an organ-based event where emotions are affecting function, and somebody needs help. The ability to release that stress, to step aside from the constant stress, and to actually rest. And the the chill is actually having an effect on a deeper level than the ESR. The ESR really is a superficial stress that may be digestive based, where we feel anxiety and we're aware of it there and then, and we feel it in our gut. The chill is a much deeper event where we've had it for so long, we often don't even recognize how stressed we are. And the results can be quite exciting from the point of view of emotional relief. It's also very helpful, I found, and well reported in the clinics regarding supporting people trying to give up habits if they have an addictive behavior, things of this nature. Chill has often been able to support that change in behavior. How's your experience with it, Harry?
Stress at its most basic level is us not being able to process the information fast enough or fast enough and to have the wisdom to process it correctly to come up with an answer, and then obviously us then taking the action from the answer. And then if you get information in, you process it, know what to do, take the action, stress resolves. Easily, much more easily said than done. So really, the only way long term to reduce stress is to improve our way of obtaining wisdom and processing that information. And the thing with information is often, we can be all stressed, and to be honest, we don't have a frigging clue how to process it or know what the answers are, because if we did, we wouldn't be you wouldn't be stressed. Like, if you knew, oh, okay, if I did this, then that's going to happen. Then the stress basically, it gets at least dramatically reduced. So what chill is doing is basically helping bring stuff from your subconscious, helping it process it, bringing it to your conscious, so you know what to do. But it's also combined, again, actually with heart driver and ESR, just to just to sort of smooth it out. So it's a more gentler way of processing information, if you like. As Liberator is a bit more raw. I don't know if anyone's taken a lot of Liberator, but if you take a lot of Liberator, it literally stuff comes into your consciousness. It's like, whoa. And actually, it can be Liberator is not relaxing, but it does help you process information faster and better. Uh, chill is a sort of a more calm way of doing it. But in the end, we're always trying to improve how we're always trying to improve people's development and how they process information, because then you go on to make better decisions in your life, and you make better decisions, life gets easier, you're healthier, all the rest of it, etc.
And the last of the on the list today, we have love. Now, this, as
Oh,
we've put here, love, not in the Hollywood interpretation, not of that way. This is about unity. This is about having balance for yourself as much as unconditional love for everyone around you. The ability to be loved is a factor of this. So being able to accept and accept others on whatever level that might be. So in fact, we had a run on those over the Valentine's period where people were using that and taking that. What's your feedback on love?
well, in Choice Point, we were looking at how on earth can you transform people in the easiest way. Like how can you help their self development? And there's lots of techniques in NLP and EFT, and you can look at people's belief systems and all that. And I don't know, I just thought that was a little bit slow. I say slow because there could be an awful lot of belief systems and stuff you have to uncover. I wasn't particularly that enamored with emotions, because emotions come and go over the day, but that emotions aren't really the cause of anything. They're just a symptom. They're just something your body reacts to. And belief systems is perhaps above emotions, but then above emotions is actual characteristics of people. If you're able to communicate properly, if you have charisma, if you trust people, if you're able to love, if you have all of these characteristics and focus more on those characteristics, then things about belief systems and emotions, they start to melt away. They become less of an issue, because you're focusing on these core transformational characteristics. So that's where the idea of the love infoceutical originally came from, and we match these transformational characteristics pretty much into the Ayurvedic chakra system. So the love infoceutical is actually also the crown chakra. But in short, its idea is that it helps you to develop that characteristic of unconditional love, and it also, and energetically it corrects your crown chakra. But and I you know I've and it is a nice one. You feel, I have to say, out of all of them, you probably feel the best. You feel the best on that one. You just I can to plainly put it, you just feel really good, and at peace with the world. So I'm a big fan of love.
Wonderful. Peace for the world. There's not enough love, is there?
There's
That's
not enough
wonderful.
love. You can never have enough love.
That's it. Now here we go. We've got a number of questions here, so I know we're just over the hour, but let's run through these. So we've got one here from Kathleen, and she's asking about one of the Nestritions. She's asking about Restore. Is it available yet in the USA? Now I have to check with you
I
because I
believe
don't
it.
know.
It is made, and it's right here. Yeah, I need Sarah Turner. I absolutely know it's manufactured, and I know it's sitting in our warehouse. Is it on the portal? I honestly couldn't answer you, but there's no reason why it won't be within a few days if it's not.
Absolutely. I'll just open up for Sarah if Sarah's there. Hello, Sarah.
Yeah,
Do you have any feedback for us as to whether Restore is available at this point in time? Okay, Sarah's not there right now.
so
Okay,
Sarah, maybe type the answer in and we can read out your answer on Skype or something.
now the next one down the list, we'll be getting back to you, Kathleen, on Restore. If it's not available right now, it will be very very soon. Are these infoceuticals available in all countries, or are infoceuticals available in all countries?
In short, yeah, absolutely, yes. There were, I believe with ILS previously, some of these feel good ones weren't, but we're basically unified, we've unified Europe, Australia, and America as of today of this webinar, and all of these are on the portal in all those various countries. So yes, and it's the same. uh, I mean, basically with the Provision Free release, the My Health release, Restore, the Feel Good Infoceuticals, we're basically standardizing everything all across the world. So everyone has the same, we're giving the same standard of training, etc., etc. So that should, going forwards, there won't be any of those little idiosyncrasies which get a bit confusing.
The next one we've got here is from Andy, and they're asking about the male and female fields and the heart driver. Now, they're looking at the changes in self-esteem and charismatic sense, and they're asking which would we use, or how to know which one to use. So, uh, I guess the heart driver is about the entire field, and having a flourishing human body field, because the heart's building that and maintaining the body field, and the male and female is specifically supporting a more maybe personal charismatic, but the two things overlap distinctly. So experience of
Oh, right, yeah. I mean, yeah, they are quite different. I mean, if I take a male driver, I'm just going to be explicit, so it's really obvious. So the male driver is made with some information that enhances the gland, like the top gland of the penis, the testicles, also the prostate, and then it has heart driver and muscle driver in it. The female driver is similar without describing all the various bits
reciprocal
in the
functions.
female anatomy, and heart driver obviously is just heart driver. So if you imagine you've got the effect of heart driver, and then you add in, obviously, by for adding bits like the testicles, etc., you're basically increasing testosterone, etc., and sensation down there. It has you feel more of a man, or you feel more of a woman, like it's like heart drive, but add in the sexuality component of charisma. And again, it's how do you know which to use? Um, well, if in the practitioner viewpoint, just let Provision work that out and do exactly as the scan says. This is more for your client at home. If they're giving a speech tomorrow and they want to feel, really like, really charismatic, and like, I'm going to nail it or whatever, then they would want to consume a load of male or female, or if they've got a hot date or whatever it is. It's a very different thing. But clinically, you would just go from the scan. I mean, that's the way to work out priority. But the feel good thing isn't about it, 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 it isn't about what the scan says. This is more of what they want to do in their day-to-day lives, and it's a different thing.
Okay. Now we've got another question here regarding sleep apnea, asking if there's a way to direct the scan priorities to create a protocol to support sleep apnea specifically. Now we'd have to
I
look
think,
into that.
yeah, I think what no, I think what Debbie's saying is, she's saying go by the scan, because I mean, generally, well, again, it's the condition viewpoint versus, having trusting what the scan says. And if you literally go by what the scan says and take the appropriate pharmaceuticals, use the My Health in the correct places on the ERs, odds are that the body is going to correct itself where it needs to, and sleep apnea would go away, versus creating a protocol for arthritis, one for sleep apnea, etc., etc. And Ness is the opposite. We're saying, okay, here's your body field, the energy and information are distorted in these places, and this is the sequence of healing to correct it. And well, obviously that's what Ness is doing, and Ness wasn't doing that, would be a pharmaceutical company and selling, would be selling a pill for sleep apnea, and it's not the way to go.
So trust in the scan effectively and let the body resolve things as it can. Andy, we've got one here. Respiratory and head chest colds hitting our community. They've had it for over a week. CFI isn't working. What else can we try? Well, we're really saying here you do need to check with the scan and approach the treatment in a scan basis. If you're
the broad spectrum. Yeah, sorry, I shouldn't interrupt you. But yeah,
if they've had it for over a week and it's hitting a whole community,
ET5. Check if ET5 is coming up, because I mean that's ET5 is generally when viruses affect the chest. CFI is more of a head one, so possibly it could be the wrong ET for that community. It could be. Anyway, check on the scan if ET5 is coming up a load.
Yeah, by the time it's hitting a community, we really need to start looking at the scan directly. If it's a singular person within a home and they want to just drive things on from that point of view.
And there are different. I mean, when we're making the ETs, we're looking at broad corrections for sets of viruses, but there can be that there are, of course, the odd few viruses that might not sit in those ETs, and that will happen.
Now we've got one here from Tracy.
We haven't made a correction for every virus on the planet.
No, broad groups. Here we go. We've got one here from Tracy, because we do have a few questions left. In fact, we've got loads of questions looking below that.
Well, that's great. Let's do them.
Let's have a look. Yeah, we've got a question about, are these designed to be taken in a short term, as needed, or for long periods? And can we ask about the shelf life? Because if somebody uses it a little bit and then puts it away on the shelf, how long can they keep hold of it? Well, the recommendation would be about, if you've opened it, we really expect you to consume it maybe within the next 3 months, as long as it's not left in the sun and things of this nature. And most of the time, one bottle is a good starting cycle to clear something up, rather than just take it for a moment. Shelf life is normally, I think, the manufacturer for 3 years.
Shelf it is 3 years, but I mean the best before date is stamped on the bottle, so they'll know the best before date.
Yes, that's right. So they can work through them there. I do suggest when you start an infoceutical to work through it and complete it. That way you've really given it the best information, because symptoms are only the elements we respond to personally, but in fact that information is still inside, needing to be fully corrected and supported. So it's worth not just relying on starting it, but take it through over the week or so. And with these infoceuticals, we're able to use them in reasonable quantity. You could take it several times a day, 15 drops, 28 drops, and really bring that information change through.
Let's see. All right, we've got. Isn't ESA very chill, and it's also related to the next question? Oh, I just deleted the next question, but I remember it. ESA is chill. Basically all of the most of the feel good infoceuticals are all in the software. Like ESR is in Provision, Chill is ES8, Love is in Provision, Nerve Driver, Heart Driver. So yeah, ES8 is Chill, and the one I deleted was from Debbie, which was also, it's about ESR and Chill, and what she wanted to give some feedback to everyone. And she basically had a 57-year-old alcoholic that she's been given. I think she's just been given ES8. I don't. Well, she's just said she's given ES8 and ESR for 4 months, and yeah, apparently they don't have any cravings for alcohol anymore, and they're no longer an alcoholic. So I don't know if we can get Debbie to actually speak live and say that. I don't know if she's got a mic, but
Let me just.
maybe we should just do the
Well,
questions.
yeah, let's work through the questions. But thank you, Debbie, for sharing that. And it was they were taking 28 drops a day of ESR and ES8, as well as the standard protocol. So they were being used as a supplement to the protocol, the two coming along, being used simultaneously. Next one down. Yes, you can use the feel good infoceuticals on someone who is not on the NEST program. Consider it as a way of introducing people to the system, friends, families. If somebody is telling you their husband or wife is have got something going on, or they've just hurt themselves playing sport, or they really would benefit by maybe one of the fields, the male field or female field, you can send your client home who you might be seeing and provide them with one of the feel good range, so they themselves can provide that to their spouse or son or brother or whatever it might be. We're certainly considering putting together almost a first aid kit of feel goods, which you might want to present to a family member at Christmas and say, here you go, here's healthy information, have a wonderful year. The opportunities are endless for introducing people to this system. They've been specifically chosen so that people can use them out of sequence if necessary, based purely on symptoms.
I have a lovely technical question. Well, it's two in a row. What type of frequencies in love? And then the next question from the same person is how do sorry, it's Allah. Well, I can't pronounce the surname, but Allah. And how do you measure the crown chakra vibration? They're not frequencies. So when you're so in NES we're looking at the energy in the body field, and we're looking at the information in the body field, and they're two separate things. And often in energy medicine over the years, you've had like Rife frequencies, and I don't know, I think is it FSM, in the microcurrent community, you have frequencies for this, frequencies for that. NEST isn't based on that principle at all. Actually, what we're interested in is the information that's carried on the frequencies within the body field, and it's a completely separate concept. So the short answer is, well, it's pure information. And I guess your second question, how did we measure the love information? We didn't measure love specifically. It's actually done in reverse. So it's an interesting question, but to answer it, I would have to answer how we measure information for every infoceutical, which I guess I can do.
Is it worth referring them to Energy and Information in Nature?
Well, the best thing would be to read the Decoding the Human Body Field book, because it is a webinar in itself almost. But I mean, I guess yeah. I mean, the short answer is, yeah, we didn't measure. We weren't measuring the energy off a chakra. We were basically looking at the information in those regions of, in this particular case, of the brain and the head region, and the head region that helped to generate the emotion and characteristic of love. And I think it is one for reading the book, or maybe asking me privately, so it's like a 20-minute one,
Well, maybe we can consider having
a special webinar,
a
a
special
special
webinar.
webinar.
Yes, that is a topic that would be helpful to, I think, to all practitioners to some degree or other.
Oh goodness,
Um,
what have I just agreed to?
well, we'll look and discuss whether it's
Yeah, that's okay.
necessary. What is the My Health discounted price on seasoned practitioners? It's got here. So they're asking about pricing for practitioners who are going to introduce the
Oh well, it
device to their
is.
provision process.
Well, how it works today, is basically discount. It's basically, I think it's discounted by 30 to 35%, but we don't actually set the retail price. So I think right now it's, if I remember accurately, it's 2,340 US dollars, um, which, yeah, which you buy, but you can set you and this is the professional My Health, and you can basically sell that on for any value you want. And I think last year we were selling professional My Health for $3,100. So that would be what would that be, like a $750 markup. And we don't set that, like, because we don't put the prices on the web, so no client would ever know that a different doctor was selling it for 2,700 or you were selling it for 3,500, like that. And it's the same with Infoceuticals. We don't set the retail price of Infoceuticals and Nutrition. That, that's your own business decision. And hopefully that makes sense.
Let's look through
I've
here.
got Debbie. She says yes. Oh, I think that means she says she can go on air. Okay. Well,
Um,
we'll come back to that.
when are
Dr.
these
Bonnie,
infoceuticals available? I
I
don't
don't
see
see
them
our
in the
portal.
portal. Now,
I
I
do
was told
believe
to I was told to
Go on, sorry.
refresh my browser. When I was trying to see them this morning, the technical department in the UK said I better refresh my browser and check if I have any cookies. Now, that's something to do with the way history is held for your browser. And sometimes you have to restart the browser if you've regularly been to the portal before. Maybe shut down your browser and bring it back up. They should be there
Yeah,
now.
they should be there. And if you have any troubles, just you can order everything through the phone line anyway, and our in support, they enter the order for you. So don't get too hung up on the portal if you prefer ordering through the phone. Cool. I I'd like to donate my time and possibly some Infoceuticals to cancer clients, some terminal. What would you say would best help with that situation in general? Love or inner peace or some other? Uh, that's a hard one.
Scan,
Personally, I would
scan.
say the scan. I'd always go with the scan. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely the scan.
yeah. For most pertinent information when dealing with distinct disorder in the body, the scan is the most direct way of achieving that. The good feel good range is to make the change. You're home from work, you feel drained, you now got to go out for dinner with the neighbors, and you think, oh, I really don't want to do this. So you might go, how can I feel better? You might go, oh, I want some source driver. I want to clear my head, and I want to be more open, and I might go, let's put the heart driver in and be open to my neighbors. Think along those lines. If you're dealing with a distinct medical or health condition, then really spend the time having the scan as well, but use the feel goods as a way of enjoying the day to day when you're not necessarily in a cycle of treatment, but you can
Cool.
also use it with the cycle. Let's have a look at the next one
It
here.
says it's an easy one. What's the difference between ED4 and nerve driver feel good? It's yeah, I think it's the same as we were saying earlier. ED4 is the nerve driver. It's just on the portal. We put them in in a group so you can easily know which ones the feel good. But most of them are already in provision, and there are various drivers and stars, etc. Like ES8 is chill, ED4 is nerve driver, heart driver is, oh, testing my memory now, is that ED2 is nerve, etc. etc. Um, is a copy of the presentation available? I'm sure Cyril will give you, can put it that. I guess he would just email people a Dropbox link or something. Um, have you dropped the youth feel good Infoceuticals? Yeah, I have dropped it. The reason we've dropped youth, it's just an odd one, youth, because youth is like saying there's a fountain of youth, and there's one answer to, there's one answer to everything, whereas that, of course, they're well, they're obviously, they're plainly isn't. You're always better off going with a variety. But things that would make you more youthful are, heart driver makes your skin look really good. um, the source gives you more energy. Polarity does, heart driver does, male and female energy. So the reason I took youth out is it's a bit of a conflicting one amongst the others. But absolutely, by taking lots of Infoceuticals and nutrition and my health, you, of course, you end up more youthful, which is the whole point of this, really. Is it possible to send us a link with the webinar and Infoceuticals information? Absolutely.
The webinar will be
Cyril.
is being recorded at the moment, and it will be turned into something that is easy to watch, and it'll be put onto the Quantum Health website in a library that we're developing at the moment. So it won't be immediately today, but it's shortly going to occur. So all of the webinars have been captured in that manner.
Cool.
Now we've just hit the 90 minutes.
That's the last question. 90 minutes, and we hit the last question. So that's probably. Oh, there's one more question here. Harry, I was responding real time to the yes, and ED13 was saying yes.
I see. It's difficult to see from our end, Debbie. Thank you very much for taking part. I'd like to thank Harry today for taking part and sharing with him most candidly the experiences of and history of the Nest Infoceuticals, and providing us with an understanding of how we can now make best use of this particular group of feel-good infoceuticals. With the mindset that we don't have to be fearful, we can provide them direct based on symptoms alone, and provide a flourishing change for ourselves and our clients and friends.
And I would say, I mean, obviously these webinars, I don't know if it's the second or third one we've done, but we'd absolutely love feedback on what you'd like to hear about, so we can design the webinars, well, obviously to what people want, and also who they want to hear from, and all that lovely stuff. So feedback is very, very, very greatly welcomed. And yeah, sorry, Debbie was saying what she meant by ED13 is I think it was in response to the cold question earlier. Yeah, see if you, give the community a load of immunity driver. That was what that was going on about. And I think as ES1 is another big immunity one, and ET15 is also the general ET. So if in doubt, ET15 covers all ETs in a general way. I'm skipping around. Shall I thank Cyril? I think Cyril's pretty amazing too. Thank you, Cyril.
Thank you, Harry. It's a pleasure to be here, and we look forward to be able to provide more and more information, and just keep providing this service of webinars, and building a library of information which will be available through your Quantum Health logins. So those of you that haven't been using it recently, please make sure your logins are functioning, make sure they're working, and when we open the library there very soon, you'll be able to make use of those logins to catch up on all these webinars. If you do help.nesshealth.com, so that's simply help.nesshealth.com, and enter into that area, and on the right hand side at the top there is a blue logo that says training. Click on that and it'll take you straight through to Quantum Health login area. Okay,
We are at the moment actually unifying all of the logins, so you can basically just go through the Nest Health site with one login and get to training, support, and the shop all in one place with one login. So that's something that what we call the boys in the back are working on over this month to integrate all that and make an easier user experience.
super. Any questions at all, don't hesitate to email supportusa@nesthealth.com. And if you have any technical questions that are of a technical nature, it's techsupportusa@nesthealth.com. Thank you very much. Please
Cool.
make use of the forum. There's lots of activity going on there, and it's a busy place where Harry, myself, and the others actively trying to support people's questions and answers. And you communicate amongst yourselves as well, sharing your experiences, which is a really valid component. Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you very much to you all for your attendance. I can see you're all logging off. That's wonderful. All right. Have a
Thank
good
you. All
evening.
right. Take care.